Hi, my name is Don Berg. I've been restoring automobiles for over 50 years, starting with bicycles when I was a child. And as a result of all this, I've learned a lot of techniques through trial and error, and I wish to pass some of this knowledge on to you. First of all, we're going to show you the body filler first, then we'll show you how to sand it so that it has no imperfections. It looks nice and smooth. It'll look just like a new panel when we get done with it. We'll show you each step as we go along. And through the beginning, prep the metal, use the body filler, painting, sanding and painting, and then when we get done, it's nice and straight. And it'll look like new panels, okay? The advantage over an airboard is an airboard just goes really fast across what you're doing. This covers a big area slowly, as I'll show you just right now, okay? Okay, now if you can bring it over now, what I want to show you is that this is a low spot yet. These are low spots here. There's quite a bit of material on here, so what I'll do is probably skim it. I'm probably going to sand a lot more on here first before I start filling this in, because this would have to be filled again, and this would have to be filled. And that's what I did here before. These were low before, but what I did, I got too much out here, so I'll have to take that off and just sand a lot more. I'll be doing more of this later, but this is pretty high right in here. But this long board here goes over a whole large area at one time, instead of going like this here, where the airboard goes really fast, and it does a nice smooth job, but it covers a small area. And I'm not going to do it here, but as a result, this would end up, you can do pretty good, but you don't, unless you go over like this, and you can do that too, but it still doesn't get as nearly as straight as these. As I showed you on the Cadillac, that was done with these, and that's why this is so straight. Now, a lot of body shop people would cringe at this. I've never done this for a living. I've always done it as a hobby. I've been doing this since I was about 8 years old on bicycles and such. But a lot of body shop people would cringe at me using filler like this, but when you get this on there properly, you won't have to redo it again, and it'll be straight. It'll look like it's a new panel, a new truck box. Mainly too, you don't want to stay in one spot too long. You got to keep going back and forth like this. But take long strokes. You notice you go this way, up and down, and this way. So you don't end up with just a groove this way too. You got to get it so it's straight this way as well. And you don't want to go up and down like this, because that'll cut a groove in it. So you do the whole thing up and down. And you can see there's a low spot here yet. And I think that'll come out if I sand enough. This one might need a little more filler possibly. This is pretty good here, although we got a rough edge here. If you do this, you don't have to do your aerobics either. This will take care of that. Now, what some people like to do when they see a low spot is go in one spot to get that smoothed out, or one high spot. But you can't do that. You have to just leave it go over the whole thing. As you can see, there's a lot of material comes off, and then all of that has been done by hand sanding. Now here's a high spot. Now you can either pound that in a little bit, or you can fill in around it, but probably what we'll do is try to pound that in a little bit. That's any part that's sticking out like that. You really don't want any metal to show when you do this. You want it to be all filler on top pretty much, otherwise you're going to have a high spot and that'll show. Well, I have a little more work, I'll do some more later, but I have to leave and do something else right now, but I'll be back and we'll do some more on this. But one thing I wanted to say, I mentioned the body shop people. Most people think there are about 100 ways to do a job. Well, there's really only 3. One is the right way, the wrong way, and the correct way. And the correct way is the way the boss wants it done, or the customer, okay? Now, if you're working for a boss and the customer wants something that the boss doesn't want to do, maybe you can sneak that in when the boss goes to lunch and please the customer as well. But in this case, I own the truck, it's mine, so I'm the customer and the boss. But if you ask my wife, I'm probably not really the boss. She tells me what I do wrong and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, I make my own decisions on this pretty much, but I do get input from other people too, and I got an employee that's pretty good. He helps me out some. I try to do this myself because it's good exercise, and I've done a lot of it. And I kind of know what I want to do. I don't want to put a whole bunch of filler on. Like you've seen a lot of people dump filler on like this. I'll show you later how to put filler on too. Put it on with a nice patch and then you put it on nice and smooth. You don't just daub it on with a putty knife and then try to sand it all off. That's too much work. As you can see, this one's come just about out of here. You can see here I got some pin marks here where I showed where I had to put the filler in. I put some pin marks here and pin marks here, and now I'm down to that, so I know I filled that part in to where I was before. But there was holes in here that I had to fill in, and now they're filled in. They look pretty good. There's still a dimple here, and there's a big one right here. That was pretty low, and I've tried to figure out a way if I could pound that back out, but I decided just to fill it as well. But one thing when you fill it, you got to make sure the metal is nice and roughed up like this, and right down to the metal. Don't put it over paint if you can help it. As you can see, look at this one, so we'll show this. This kind of shows what it should look like if you're going to put filler on, or even paint. We can paint that too. That looks rougher than what it really is. That's about 80 grit, 90 grit, something like that. So we put on, we might be able to have to sand that. I don't know. I think we can put some primer on that and see what it looks like, and we will. One thing I've done here is spend a little too much time right here too, because if I do that, then you'll end up with a little slope up here. But the idea is to make this just as straight as it was new metal. I really have to do something with that. Actually, that's not going to be a problem, come think about it. That's great, because I do have a chrome piece that I'm going to put over here, and it comes down about to here. It's a nice little chrome piece that'll cover all this top, and as you can see, I didn't finish the top. I just did that with an airboard and put some filler in there for the rough spots, and we'll lay that piece on here, and I think that'll cover that right up so we won't see it. You have to try and do it equally too. Like I have to spend more time over there than I have over here. So ideal way would be to count the strokes. The longer the stroke, the more. Real advantage of this is that airboard moves like this, and it really takes off a lot of material in one spot. And you got to really move fast. And no matter, you can't just. I've used a lot of them, and you can't control it really. This you can control. Through there, I think. This is about 40 grit paper, I think it is. Comes in a big roll. And what I get done with, I usually use about 80, probably maybe even 120 when I finish this, before I paint it. Should paint, the primer can go on with pretty rough surface, but this one's going to use, I was going to say single stage, but it isn't. This is going to be two-stage paint too. We're going to paint it metallic, which I don't like, because metallic, you have to paint it, and then after the last coat, you have to kind of put a mist coat over it. You don't want to put it on too heavy because it'll mottle and run. And the mist coat, then we'll put all the little flakes, make them all look pretty nice. And then when you put the clear coat over that, you can flow it out really nice. And one thing about putting clear coat over too, a lot of people wait too long to put it on. And if you do that, it will eventually peel off. So it's kind of got to meld right into the paint a little bit. So it's good to do it before the paint has set completely up, like the same day, for example. You know, you can do it later, but it's better to do it right away. Don't want to do it too quick either. It'll run into the paint and cause the base coat to run. But the base coat's pretty good stuff. It dries pretty good. But I just wanted to show people this so that hopefully you can figure this out for yourself. It's tough to do this for yourself because of the regulations, but most of you can still know how to, can still figure out a way to do it. Look at it again later because I got some other stuff I have to do right now, but I'll go through all of this, and we're going to go through all the way through the paint painting process, everything. We'll show you how to do the whole thing. But mainly today I want to show how to make a dinted flat surface straight. Curved surface is a lot nicer in a way because you can allow a little bit of riffles here and there as long as they're big, as long as they're not real fine. Because new cars have that. If you look at a new car and you see a panel and you look at it closely, you can see a wave in it here or there. It's not really completely flat. Back ends of semi-trailers, you can see there's a lot. If you're following one that has like an aluminum doors on the back, and if they're not pleated like some of them are, they do that. The flat ones, you can see all kinds of riffles into things, and that's you can see that with new cars too as well. But this, now when you get done with this is really hard material. This came from Arizona, so there's no rust on it. Interestingly though, if you look here, you can see some rust just from sitting here in the shed. And that happens in Wisconsin and the Midwest because we have a lot of humidity. Arizona, this had not a bit of rust. There was bare metal sitting on this when I got it, and there was no rust. It's a shame to bring them to the Midwest, really. The only thing I got to worry about right now is this and this one here. So I got to put a little more into each one of them. I don't want to go down too more. And over here, I'm starting to go through right here too, so I want to make sure I don't do any more there. That's pretty flat. You can see it's going through. So probably what I'll do is just put I'll put primer on this. Of course, I got to get this all cleaned up here too. There's a big chrome strip that covers this whole area right in here. But what we'll do is primer the whole thing. And probably 2K primer is what we'll use more likely. It's kind of hard to do with it. But you also want some primer that you can sand in case you have to sand it. I got to lay that down. As soon as I put my hand, I got to sand, so I don't want to.